Yeah.
Okay, the whole day preparing for this show, Bambos. What is the one thing you need to remember this whole show?
I'm a loser, baby.
Soy no predator. I'm a loser, baby. So why don't you kill me? 1993, Beck. One of the best song anthems of a generation. That song. I sing it every day that I feel like shit. So I'm going to be singing it a few times today, I hope.
How's it working for you?
It's been really it's been an energetic release, actually, because it's like, it was the reclamation work before the reclamation work.
So, Andy, today, Monika Zampa.
Zampa? Monika Zampa. I love that you got her on the show for this topic, Bambos.
Yes, I saw a LinkedIn post, or I don't remember if it was LinkedIn or it was social media anyway, where she was sharing, and I thought it would be a good idea to unpack that.
So we are bringing Monika Zampa on to discuss let's start over again. We're bringing Monika Zampa on to discuss why her family thinks that she's a loser. And we're going to do that where, Bambos?
On a wonderful chaos, Mr. Shalef, on a wonderful chaos.
You're a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me?
Hello, Mr. Shalef.
Hey, Mr. Demetrio.
It's a long time no speak.
Yeah, it's so funny because I think that like our lives at the moment, I'm living a kind of daily ritual of just my normal Amsterdam life, but every day feels like you're opening up a new box of chocolates going into your family. So how is it to meet parts of your family that you've basically never met before?
It's weird. It's weird because some family members, I remember them when I was 8, 9 years old. And some of them I remember the names, but I couldn't place them. What's the connection? Okay. So sometimes when I'm with them, I forget and I have to say, hey, what was our connection again? But what's really apparent is even if we don't have anything in common, like you've got to know that I'm cycling everywhere in Cyprus. So I might cycle 4 hours a day through this hilly city in traffic. So by the time I arrive at someone's house, I'm completely sweating. My cousin says, "You want to take a shower?"
I don't want to hug you.
No, he hugged me, and then we sat by the pool, and then he gave me a shot of wine. He's like, "Do you drink wine?" I'm like, "No, I don't, but we're gonna do it." I told him.
I love it.
So there's all this, it's just tapping into love, and my mother. I'm also amazed about my mother. I mean, even though she's having this big resistance towards everything that I put on the table, she when I visited a year ago, she would run away, and now she's more easily staying with it.
Wow.
So there's been that shift.
I love that. I think I'd like to do a whole show, what I learned back in Cyprus, because we always get bits of it on the start of each show, but it feels like it could be an entire show. Yeah.
I was thinking it would be cool to sit with my mother next to me. And I might have to, I would have to translate. But we talked about it today. She said, I'll do it, but you have to translate.
Exactly. Yeah. She probably will try to make everything sound better than it is, you know. What's the worst time with Bambos? Oh, there was never a bad time with Bambos. Let's segue to our guest, Monika Zampa. Now, what I love about a guest like Monika is that she completely owns the space and celebrates it. And you know how fun it is for us to be with somebody who like we know that if you asked her family members, they certainly would not say that she's a loser. But in some weird way, I'm sure those little snide remarks that are a little bit diminishing, which give you indications that they don't really approve of how you're living. And what I think is really sweet is that Monika was a high-priced banker in London with her own chauffeurs doing that thing, right? Getting paid a lot and like selling her soul. And then all of a sudden, like it happens one day, you look in the mirror and you say, who the fuck am I looking at? And do I really like this person? And then you're like, how do I start over again? And then you do what would be like a life do-over, you know, and every so often you get lucky enough to do the life do-over. Some people aren't as lucky because they just have too many constrictions to make it possible, but some are lucky enough to say, I'm just going to do it over again. But what I noticed is when anyone does it over again, everyone looks at that person like they're crazy. Because it's like, you had everything. You had this, you had the status, you had the money, you could retire. Just do it another 10 years. So it's almost like you were never happy, but continue not being happy for another 10 years, because then maybe at the end of that, you can retire and do that thing. So what I really loved about this show was that I do believe that anybody that goes through awakening inside of themselves and starts to live differently than what their circle has considered normal, they're considered crazy for the first years. And I think almost everyone who's done that can relate to this story. That's what I thought was so beautiful about it. And she did that 20 years ago. So she, as we said before she got on, she's been a loser for 20 years now. So I want to see how she wears it.
Shall we bring her on? 20 years.
20 years a loser. Soy.
You're a loser. Yeehaw!
You're a loser, baby. So why don't you kill me?
Proud and loud.
Yeah.
Monika, for a loser, you are glowing.
You are glowing.
I'm a very good loser.
I love it.
So, Monika, when you wrote that post, I mean, 20 years is a long time. So, what are the events that occurred for you to sit down behind your laptop and make that post?
Well, it doesn't happen overnight. So my personal journey, my family loved me when I was making money and I was in London, having my suit and having my chauffeur and traveling the world. They were proud of me. They were telling their neighbors, oh, my daughter is in London, she's a banker. And then I went on a pilgrimage to India and I came back and said, I'm going to be an artist. And since that moment, when I connected to my heart and I was really digging deep and trying to talk about taboo issues, that's what I normally do, they didn't know how to place me because I was outside the norm. I didn't marry, had a kid when I was 41, at home, completely against the rules. So they don't know where to place me. And then when I wrote that post, I'm on a spiritual journey and also a business journey, and I'm my own brand. So every single day I work on my brand, which is me. And when I wrote that post, I said, well, fuck it. I don't have to be afraid of anything. This is who I am. And if I want to attract the right people, they need to know who I am inside. And so I just put it out. I was very scared, very, very scared. So I typed it in. I downloaded it, put it on a voice, typed it in, and I said, press, close the computer, and I left. I left because sweating. I was very nervous. I knew it touches the core in me, and I didn't expect any reactions. But they were huge, massive. Also, I was talking to Bambos before that on LinkedIn, which is a very professional network. I had 1,000 people clicking and commenting, and I believe some of them are still a bit shy to really properly comment, but at least I got the like. I was really surprised what kind of effect it had.
Yeah, when you said it, I could immediately connect to it as well. I thought it was really beautiful. Yeah,
and my family would not, if I would face if I would face them and I'll say, you think I'm a loser? I'll say, oh, no, that's not true.
Of course not.
But you know it.
I know.
What you just did in the introduction, you know it, the little remarks. And, we, especially women, have this tendency to please our dads, and doesn't matter if you're 20, 30 or 50. One of the things is like, we want our fathers to be proud of us. My father was very proud of me when I was a banker.
Yeah.
Proud. And now when I'm developing and shedding the layers, I'm proud of myself. So I don't need that from him. It would be nice.
Yeah.
It would be nice. But if it's not there, it's okay.
Yeah. I remember one of the last talks I had with my dad. My dad and I never got along for most of our lives. It was always a lot of fighting. And as I did my personal growth, then he was much easier. We could spend time together and it wouldn't be confrontational. And then what happened was one day I was sort of sharing insight with him, like just insight. And he was like, Andy, do you realize that if you didn't have a successful business background behind you, I wouldn't believe a word you're saying?
Here we go. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because the generation, I know where they're coming from. The money, it's a security. And, if you have a proper job, 9 to 5, which I don't believe at all anymore, 9 to 5, retirement, that's a security for that generation. And if you are different, then they are in chaos. They don't know. They cannot relate.
You're going to laugh. I was 40, had done all my business. I'm sitting, and it's one of the last meals I've ever had with him before he dies. And he said, after doing, all of my personal work, really happy, grounded, he says, Andy, I just want you to know that if you ever want to be a lawyer, I'm happy to pay for your education. Because at 50 years old, he figures maybe I'll get him to be safe. He can take care of himself if he becomes a lawyer.
Yeah. Welcoming to banker. Why don't I go back to banking? Yeah.
Yeah.
No way, Jose. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. I had a few questions, but I want to leave some space because Bambo sometimes doesn't jump in as quickly as I do.
You mentioned that there were some comments. Did you get people who didn't dare to comment, but they sent you a private message?
I had people private messaging me. Yes, I did. And words like courageous, brave, good for you. I also felt like an outsider all my life. I'm, the weirdo. And one of the reasons why I actually decided to own it and to honor myself and not to feel that being the outside of the box and a weirdo is a bad thing, actually it's a very good thing, because people who are non-conformist are the pioneers, and they are the ones who bring the ideas to the society. And you need to be weird. You need to be different in order to, like an icebreaker, you have to be the first one to break the ice. And so I have a whole community of people like me, 5,000 people behind me on my conscious business tribe, who are, all of them are weird. And I know once I found this tribe, I thought, I'm home.
Yeah.
There are many more like me, and they're making millions. They're weird and making millions.
Yeah. There's one doesn't need to exclude the other, right?
It's like spirituality and financially rich, because lots of people are spiritual and they are poor, and they think it cannot be spiritual and rich. That's also one of the topics
that's one of those beliefs that people have, that that you can't make money if you're in spirituality, right? Yeah. Or that it's you're corrupting it, or it's tainted, all that kind of storytelling.
Money. Ooh.
Yeah. I've done a lot of courses with people on that. That's been a fun. Bambos has joined some of those.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah.
In the beginning, yeah. So money mindset is also something I love a lot.
Yeah. You up until 20. So 20 years ago, you say, screw this. I'm going to become an artist. like before that, when you're a banker, how long does it take you to figure out that I'm not happy and something needs to change? And what is like like, is there anything that happened like health wise or anything that kind of led you to make that decision?
Yes, I was in the city of London, the heart of the banking industry, and I remember clearly sitting. I used to arrange big loans, $50 to $500 million, big loans, and I was sitting at the table and I was just moving paper from one corner of my desk to another, and I just looked around. It was a Japanese bank at the time. It was open office, and I thought, what am I doing here? All these people are working 60, 70 hours in order to get 2 weeks holidays, pay their mortgage. It's like life is more than that. And I was a Buddhist at the time. I followed Buddhist teaching, and I thought it's immoral. I remember it's immoral for me to get paid more money than a brain surgeon who saves people's lives. So I quit.
Wow.
I quit on that because I thought, I can't get more money. He's saving lives, and I'm just shoveling paper from one corner to the other of the table. I'm quitting.
Yeah.
And they thought I'm crazy.
Of course. How long did it take for you between the period which you felt like this isn't right to the point you made the decision?
I think a week.
Wow. Took me 3 years or something like that.
Oh, I'm a slow burner, but when it happens,
When the penny drops.
Yes,
Wow.
when I feel it's aligned, I do it. I couldn't go to work anymore.
Yeah.
Quit.
And you mentioned that you went to India.
Yes,
So-
I went
so
to it
what
on
hap-
pilgrimage.
So could you tell me, like, there was no intent to have this big epiphany, but what happens in that trip that makes it like, okay, now like there's a before India and after India? What happened there?
Oh, massive. So I sold all my possessions, everything, and I went with one backpack to India. And for 7 months, deeply spiritual journey and, life, health, everything together. For those who've been to India, it's challenging country. I came back a different person. So when I came back after 1 year and I came to London, I was like, I can never go back to that life, never.
Wow.
So I didn't even contemplate of going to the office. That was it.
And explain to me, if you can, what happened in that time. So what was it that you say? Because I think a lot of times what happens is people they're in a rut and they can't get out of that rut because it's like what I've often seen is that I'm unhappy and I'm looking for the thing that's secure. And basically you went to complete insecurity, which is a big step. It's hard to make that step. Most people say this, I'm unhappy in a bank. I'm going to go find another bank. Oh, I'm still unhappy. Oh, I'm going to find another bank. And then it's kind of weird. They don't realize that it wasn't the bank that they needed to change. It was something inside of here that they needed to change,
Yeah, I guess I'm not the most people.
Yeah, but in a way, what happened, if you can even feel into it, like in India, that was so transformational that you said, okay, I'm gonna
very
fully...
deeply spiritual. I went on a Buddhist pilgrimage for all the places where Buddha died, enlightened, and every single time it was deep meditation for hours. And I remember I jumped out of the airplane and I climbed not Mount Everest, one of the Annapurna, one of the by myself. Because I saw the mountain, I said, I want to climb on it. And the next day I started, no preparation, and I just did it. Yeah. And I thought, once you do these kind of things, you can't just go and sit behind the desk and fill papers. It's like life is much more, it's rich. And I remember that, thank you for asking me, because I remember when I was in the banking sector, I would leave early in the morning and I would come home late at night, and the whole day just disappeared. I didn't see the milkman. In England we had milkmen. I didn't see the milkmen. I didn't see the gardeners. I didn't see postman delivering the post. I would come late. So whole chunk of my life would just disappear. And now I know how the life works because I work for myself. I see it's much more fulfilling because that's the richest.
No, I got it. Fascinating. What's weird is that I think it's again, when somebody is so accustomed to a way of living, it's hard for them to imagine a whole nother way of living. So I think it's hysterical now. If you look back, I imagine it's even almost impossible for you to imagine the other way of living when you were a banker. Or how is that for you?
Yes, because for me at the time, having a nice suit and expensive jewelry and going out and partying and eating at the most expensive restaurants was like, this is it. I have made it, you know.
Yeah.
And after, but of course, there was lots of drugs and stuff going on and shady deals and people burnouts, you know.
Sure.
So, and now I also know a much deeper story about banking industry, and then at the time I didn't. So.
Clearly. I remember I did a similar thing where I dropped out and so sold everything I owned and moved then to Amsterdam. And I lived in the attic space with no toilet, no water, no electricity or heating. And I was so free. And everyone in my world was like, Andy's gone insane. So I was like just living this dream of, wow, I'm totally free. I forgot that there was the sound of a buzzing sound in my head because I was always behind. I couldn't think creatively. And then I got rid of it and then felt great joy. And then all of a sudden, everyone around me starts saying, Andy, you're different. We don't like who you've become. So I noticed that 20 to 30% of my friends dropped out. I still don't really have contact with them because in a way they needed that Andy that they knew to be similar to who he used to be. So question for you is, has that been true for you as well? And how has that evolved with people you knew then? And how many of them are still in your life today?
Well, I do quite a lot of live talks on Facebook, and I have one of my bosses is a good follower. He follows me, so he comments. He's like always thumbs up. I have about 5 people from that time which follow me, and they like me for who I am. They always like me for who I am, not what I did.
Yeah.
And it's true, you know, people drop out, especially if you're living your life and you're doing your things and you don't really look around and you're just following your path. People don't know how to respond to you, and they might say that you're arrogant or you are different. And sometimes it could be also lonely.
Yeah.
Once you reach certain level of, you know, understanding and how the world, I can't even say the world works in different ways, but
yeah,
some people understand it straight away and some not, and they will not understand.
Yeah,
they don't want to. So
no. It's been a challenge. It's been a challenge for us on the show sometimes because Bambos and I will have a very open relationship online. And what'll happen is there'll be some viewers that'll watch our interactions and not understand the relationship is far deeper than this transactional bullshit where it's just, oh, you're going to tell him and make him feel good because that's how it works in life. So we invite them into the messiness. And I see that it isn't always easy because it hurts when you feel yourself not to be seen. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I made that post because my biggest mission is to help other women to speak up. So I step out of my insecurities, my ego. And I know that it's really uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. But if I do it, there will be one woman or one person who would read it and is like, oh, if she's doing it, I can do it. And that is my propeller.
Yeah.
It sounds very healing also to, like when I do these kind of posts, it's always for me to let go of something.
Yeah. It is healing. Absolutely. It's healing. And my family, my father, he doesn't understand what I'm doing. My mom, that's it.
Mom and Dad, are you watching?
Yes. You're a loser, baby.
My mom is great. She understands and she supports me. But of course, the comments are there, indirect. And
Monica, what kind of
You think I'm a loser? Come on, I have no.
Yeah, exactly. They think you're a
I have
loser.
no man. I'm single mom. I do this spiritual thing,
Yes.
and I live in an apartment, and it's like.
Monica, can you give an example of a comment that
Yeah,
maybe
give us a
that you
juicy
can
moment.
feel?
Yesterday, come on. Yesterday, I was sitting
Give it
here.
to us.
I was sitting on the sofa with my daughter. My father had a birthday, so I called him to wish him happy birthday. And we are sitting there in our pajamas. It was 11 o'clock. He said, "You artist, you never work. You look at you. You never work." And I was like, "You need to get yourself a proper job."
Oh,
There was a mild one.
oh, that's not even passive aggressive. That's straight out aggressive.
Oh, no, this is very mild. And I was like, yeah, I work all my life hard. And I was like, yeah, but I don't need to work hard. I just need to work smart.
Mhm.
And it's like, you artist.
Hey,
So
Bambos, just before you ask another question to Monica, how is it for you? Because you also are very similar to Monica, that you're not necessarily selling spiritual services, but you're very much allowing people to see under the hood of your pain and struggle. So how is it for you as well? Because you do similar posts to Monica.
Yeah, I mean, being in Cyprus, it's great because it feels like people just accept me. Like there's been like, why do you need to do that? But I don't feed it. It's like, yeah, I see your point, but still I'm doing it.
But they'll say it to you. They've said it to you. Like, why do you need to do that?
Yeah, and I feel that when I don't resist,
Mm-hmm.
which I've learned from you, obviously, when I don't
Really?
resist it and I receive it and I make sure they feel heard, I acknowledge them, and I love you, and this is my way, and I love you. We haven't talked about it again, so it's been pretty awesome. But obviously, in Amsterdam, when I've talked about drug addiction, dad leaving, dad being a womanizer, I did get comments from different family members like, "Why do you need to do that?"
Yeah.
And
He's dead, Bambos. We need to romanticize about him now. He can't be a real person.
well, in a way, like Cyprus is very small, and in their mind, everyone is talking about everyone else. So whatever I say impacts the family image. And what I've seen in Cyprus, everyone is protecting a certain identity. And obviously, I'm not busy with that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not here to make people miserable, by the way. So I'm also tuning into, do I really need to do this? So it's always, if it's really for my healing, it's a full fuck yes. And if I don't need to do it, then I don't do it.
Nice. That's beautiful.
there is a difference of spilling everything out there, right?
Yeah,
It has to. I mean, we are all self-responsible humans. So yeah.
In the past, I've also went really extreme. I used to throw myself under the bus all the time. And now it's like, oh, I don't really need to do that anymore.
like there were some shows, Monica, that I was like, why don't we do this show idea? And it wasn't really, it would have been hard for anyone to go through it. But Bambos would be like, yeah, we're going to do that show, which really would have been a hard show for him to do. And I think the first time he said no to a show was like a month ago, and it gave me so much joy. He's
2
like,
weeks ago.
Or 2 weeks ago. He's like, we could do that show.
Like
But
you being interviewed, you being on the hot seat.
Yeah, we sometimes put me on the hot seat because Andy likes to poke me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
no
also not true. We need good content for the show. So in some ways, when Bambos has an issue he's dealing with, we say, why not just bring it onto the show?
Oh, yes, to kind of make it more public. Yeah.
So it gives us a reason to speak about it live. That's the idea. Yeah.
I mean, if I think about my business, Unmasked Photography, A Wonderful Chaos, it is showing our humanity. It is about that.
Yeah.
Monica, I'm curious. Like, I was feeling you when you kind of said, I'm not going to do this work anymore. And I was trying to be in your body. And then having to make the announcement, like, how did you prepare for that? Or did you just pick up the phone, Dad, Mom, I quit my job? Like, how did that evolve?
Oh gosh, it's such a long time ago. I don't think I even told them.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to
I
India.
was I was like 28, 29, and I was preparing to go to South America. I was studying Spanish because I want, I prepare intensive Spanish courses. And then 1 month before I was supposed to go, I felt, no, I have to go left. I have to go to India. And like midlife crisis when you are 30 or 29, 28, that time. And I was like, I just did it. You just do things when
It just felt right.
Sometimes you can't stomach the situation. You put up with certain things. It's like with relationship. You put up with relationship again and again. And one day you walk the same door and you say, fuck it, I just can't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And nothing has happened. Nothing really has happened, but you say like, no more. Mm-hmm. Not very often in human nature, we have to go through pain and, breaking arms or divorces and someone dying in order, but sometimes you don't. And for me, it was like just looking around at this open space, like, I don't want to be like them, like zombie. And click.
I think, by the way, that point you make is really important because I've seen a lot of times that I always want to make a life change before I'm forced to make a life change. So in some ways, I think that's
great.
Like I stepped on the scale at the end of last year and I'm like, okay, that's not cool. And then I thought to myself, actually, if I think about it, if I continue down this pace, I'm going to have some health issues. And then I'm going to have to lose weight then because it's like, oh, you have to lose weight to stay healthy. And I'm like, why do I have to have that experience to then be healthy? That's just crazy. So I just started to take care of myself, with that consciousness.
Yeah. That's a high level of consciousness.
Yeah, well, it's no different than what you are talking about, right?
Yeah, it's more, I am very connected to higher self. Like, I connect every day, a part of my practice in the morning to connect. And the biggest challenge is that we all have it. The biggest challenge is that we don't listen to it.
Yeah.
We all have it. We all have that voice. And the voice talks to us all the time, loud or very quietly. And it's up to us to listen and act upon it. So I don't feel I'm different than the rest. I just act upon it.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we talk about a lot. We've done a lot of shows on intuition and on just listening to what feels right and not needing to justify it. And a lot of times the funny thing is in reverse, when someone makes decisions that no one quite understands, but then 10, 15, 20 years later, everything makes sense. They get to write the story, but the first 10 years when it really didn't look pretty, like everyone's pointing their fingers like, see, you see, you didn't know what you were doing, not knowing the messy journey was what you needed to get to the other side,
Yeah, no clue. Yeah. Of course, we don't have an idea why we do things.
No, and I think that's the illusion, though. That people need to think that they actually know what they're doing and why they're doing it to give them a sense of comfort. I had a funny talk with my wife 2 days ago, and we were talking about like retirement, and it would be great to have so much passive income in a month to live, right? And I looked at her and as she was factoring in the amounts, I said, "Do you realize this is all a construct? Because who knows where money's going to be by the time we get to retirement age? So if you think that we have any control even over the banking sector, then you're living in the delusion."
Sure.
And it was really funny because I could see her understanding it, but she's like, "That what do I have to hold on to?" And then I'm like, and then I smile and say, "Exactly."
Yeah, that's a good point. And
yeah,
illusion, security is an illusion.
Yeah, that's the thing. But we all need that idea so we can be comfortable. That's the thing, right? Yeah.
I feel we skipped over something.
Oh, nice. Go back.
Monika, when you mentioned that a couple of days ago, you spoke with your father, like, even if even his word, like the way we talked about it, I wasn't sure how his words impacted you, if anything. Like,
Many years ago, let's say 2-3 years ago, he would impact me hugely. The comment like, you are. My dad is a highly intelligent person, highly intelligent, but emotional intelligence is very low. So very highly intelligent, but emotional intelligence very low.
yeah,
So certain things come out of his mouth and you think this is just not possible. Like, So I've suffered all my life of, some people will call it abuse, but he's not aware. He just, he's not aware. And what I have built, like I built this temple where his comment doesn't really penetrate my weak point. It did a lot. I was always like, he would say something and I would be like devastated. I'm a very sensitive person, so I would be like for days completely devastated. And now I just know that what I'm doing is the right thing.
Yeah.
And the money is just the reflection. I know that I'm walking my path and I get rewarded with amazing connections throughout the world. And I have abundant mind, really abundant, which is the biggest win in my life so far, to really have not scarcity, but abundant mind. Yeah. And so when my dad says, oh, you should get a proper job, I know deep down in my core that jogging and raising my vibration is my job. That I'm working all the time because I'm working my vibration and that's my job.
Yeah. You know what I hear when he says that? I hear, I love you and I'm scared that you won't be able to support yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's of course, he says these things because he wants me to be married, to have a man who will look after me. But he says, I'm too old and no one wants me anymore. I'm done. My expiry date has passed.
He says that to you?
Yes.
So he really does have no emotional intelligence, does he?
No, he said, that's it. Forget it. Like that's it. Done. No one would want you anymore.
Oh my God.
That's good. But it's like
by the way, that thing that you're now speaking to, it's a big thing. I mean, if I look at I've talked to Bambos about this, and pretty much anyone I work with, at some point they start to get to a moment when they see that the dynamic between themselves and their parents is a concept they created in their heads from Disney films, expectations of society, and they don't realize that that this other person is just some incompetent person that happened to have a kid that was you. Because we, in some ways, weird ways, romanticize our parents. I know when my mom died, I romanticized her for many years, which made it really hard for me to recover from her death. But what I find interesting is sometimes when I talk to Bambos, I'll be like, Bambos, don't think of them as a parent. They're just some incompetent person that happened to be, who created you.
They could be. I read somewhere in the book a long time ago that your parents, that's how I parent my child. I am just a person next to her. She's independent, a human being, and I'm just guiding her, making sure she's protected as much as I can. And our parents are just strangers walking on the street who happen to be at your birth.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah.
Something very beautiful. Like I was speaking to Andy the other day, and things are happening in my family where there's dynamics and I'm just witnessing. And he just added, there's nothing to solve. I already knew it, but I kind of needed another person who I trusted to kind of confirm it. And he said something very beautiful. When you witness your mother in this case, you're actually seeing an individual who's living the consequences of an unexamined life.
Yep. Nice.
And I was
Don't
like,
say that on air, Bambos. That's too painful to hear.
I'm witnessing an individual who's living with the consequences of an unexamined life, Mr. Shalef.
Oh wow! Let's just make sure your mom doesn't see this show.
Did you say that? Did you say that's really pretty good?
Of course I said it, but I almost think to myself, Mama, some things I say to you in private. I don't think we should be talking about your mom on air. No, it's all good. Sorry.
I mean, your mom, my mom, many
It's
moms
true.
are exactly like this.
Totally.
You know, and that's
No,
And
but
we still love them. Like,
we still love them.
It's not minimize someone, but it's just like, wow, this is like where my path could have taken me.
Yeah.
you could have been exactly the same. I could have been exactly the same. Just live my life, not examine anything which is happening, and not even asking myself why I'm doing it, like other members of my family. Oh, cool.
Dog. If I wasn't a drug addict, I mean, I remembered even in the beginning when I was a drug addict, my mother.
She
She's not
walks
here.
by.
Yeah, but she actually brought a family to my house to do an arranged marriage. That was still happening back then. And I remember, even though I was a drug addict, I just started. I locked myself in my room, and later I told her, "Mom, I don't even trust you to buy me underwear." Like my sense of humor was still quite present back then.
Oh my.
I couldn't believe that was happening, by the way. Like,
Yeah, an arranged marriage. That's fascinating. You never told me about that, Bambos.
It's only in India.
There's something that you did say, and I kind of joked about it, but it actually was worth at least spending a little time on, is that I've often seen especially when someone is the end of their life and they're getting in the 50s, 60s, and then they've actually made mistakes that they perceive as mistakes, and they can't fix them, and they haven't really been able to connect to the I would say, to make peace with it in themselves, that as they get to the end of their life, I've noticed that there's often them holding on to life because they haven't finished what they feel like they needed to finish. And we're going to be inviting some death doulas on as well to show, and I'm curious to see if that's an experience that they've also had. That the more someone just is at peace with everything, like I could die today because I'm living what I want to live, would be different than someone who worked in London for 20 or 30 years, made a lot of money, and said, no, I'm just starting to live my life now. It's gone too quick. I feel like that's a theme that I've seen happen on a number of occasions.
I don't really know how would they actually, if it's not too late. If you've been working 30 years in the banking, and now you got your millions and you want to start your life, like you need to change your mind in order to start enjoying your life, and like
that's not easy to start in. Yeah. We have a dear friend of ours whose father died just recently, and he worked his whole life. He had a big business. He sold the business, and about a week or two after, he was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and he died within a year. So it was this amazing journey where he worked his butt off so that he could retire, and then he dies within the year that he's retired. And it was incredibly sad because it was almost like now he can finally start living.
Yeah, but why don't you live when you work? I mean,
this is the point, right?
Like, okay, you might not, and that's the whole thing why my parents think I'm a loser, because I don't have that to bring it into the loop. Like, I'm not working to save money for retirement. I'm enjoying my life. And some of them are really working hard, but they are letting the days just go by, and
that touched me, by the way.
Telling them going to the park and seeing beautiful flowers fulfills me and gives me a sense of richness. It's very strange to them.
Yeah, when you spoke about living in London and leaving early and coming back at night, that really hit me. That life, the weekend is about recovery. Like, you don't even enjoy the weekend because you're recovering.
No. I commuted 3 hours a day.
Wow.
You're not even recovering because, in a way, you're drinking, eating junk, trying to like not deal with the reality, and it keeps you a bit in the matrix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it also in my own life. I've chosen the life of a professional photographer, an artist, and during COVID, I ran out of finance money twice.
You ran out. Oh,
I ran out of money twice, and it was really hard for me. The second time, I could more celebrate it and ask for help. But the first time, shame, blaming myself, and then it was a talk with Andy because it happened. I went to the supermarket and had to put everything back on the shelf because I couldn't pay for it. And then I went to the podcast, and then of course I was full of emotion and anger. And then Andy said, we talked about it on the podcast, and then he kind of said, if you can't celebrate this moment, then you can never celebrate even having money. And that was a really beautiful moment for me, because when it happened again, it didn't penetrate me as much. It was like, oh wow, it's happened again. And I was feeling the aliveness. And also the difference was, I chose for this lifetime. I chose for this way of living. It was really a decision. And apparently there's consequences when I chose for this way of living still.
it will test you.
It'll test you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It will test you. And test comes from different things. Like someone stole money from my bank account this weekend. Just to say, and la 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 la, trustworthy woman, whatever. And so it's gone. And I remember, for me, it's a huge victory when I realized that someone took money from my bank account. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel self-criticism that, oh, stupid, you should have known. This is like, my father voice or whatever. Yeah. I didn't. And I just felt tremendous sadness for the person who has done it. Like really from my heart, like, wow, that's really sad. That person has to do that to a woman, to a mom, because he knew I'm a mom, rather. That's really, and I realized that the journey I have taken over the last few years, this is the result. Because 2 years ago, I would have feel stupid, that I will feel angry, and how did I do it? And it's gone. So celebrating also, like, I made a post like someone stole money from my bank account, and I'm grateful.
Yeah. Tomorrow's show, by the way, we have a guest on who was found a man online. She built a relationship with him, and then he scammed her out of money.
Yeah.
So we have her on, and it wasn't easy for her. I can imagine still she's saying, why the hell am I going online to discuss this? But she's actually making some peace with just allowing that story to be shared. So, yeah.
Someone needs to hear it.
We've got some posts coming in. Bola Lang from South Africa. He's our third man on the thing. He wants to see your post. So we got to send a link, and we'll include the link in the thread of this thing. So
do I do it now, or how do I do it?
No, we'll do it afterwards because it'll go in.
Yeah.
And so he'll want to see it. He's always there. And I have Danny McGordy, who is, Bambos doesn't know this. This is another first grade friend, Bambos. So we had yesterday a first grade friend of mine on the show. So it's funny that I'm going way back in my archives to get guests to come on. Juliet Reynolds says, I feel like I will probably have a job all my life, but now I make sure that I enjoy life too. And I think that's also something that is a transition. Like, you don't need to take a spiritual journey. You can just say, hey, I'm going to only allow myself to be in environments which serve me. And I think you can do that without having to drop off the map as well.
Sure. You can even have the same office. You can go back to the same office like you've been working for 20 years, and you just put the different glasses on, and you just are grateful for the free coffee, for the warm chair, for people you can talk to. You can switch that channel on, and your work is immediately a wonderful place.
Yeah, isn't that funny? That's really well stated. Like, I remember when I worked for this corporate where I got paid way too much money, and then I started my own business, and I had like all of the pressure and the pain, and I made no money running a restaurant. I was sitting there thinking to myself, wow, I was so ungrateful when I was getting paid all this money and coming in and all these perks. It was really, it was, I even called some of the people afterwards just to share my, my apologies that I didn't show enough gratitude at the time. Bolalang also says the Thank God It's Friday team lives for the weekend. Yes, I know a lot of Thank God It's Friday people.
Or Monday blues.
Yeah.
I love Mondays now. I love it. It's wow, another
Yeah.
week. Yes.
Yeah, but is it true for you? Because it is for me. Like, the only thing I have in my week that's pretty normal is a Friday date night. So with my wife, Friday night's date night. Other than that, I might not know what day of the week it is. Is that something that you also have, where you're like, is it Tuesday or Wednesday? Or like I used to really know like Wednesday was the hump day. If I went into work, I'm like, oh shit, I got to get through Wednesday. I've only got 2 more days left.
Oh yes, the Wednesday and the Thursday is almost weekend. So you start
Yeah.
drinking on Thursday because it's almost weekend.
Yeah.
Actually, the weekend started on Thursday. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, if you were in the UK, I always saw that the culture was so suppressed that on the evenings they had not only to drink, but they had to get like smashingly drunk.
Lines down before the bell rings.
Yeah, it's before the bell rings. I've never seen such a drinking culture. So
Yes, we drink a lot.
we've got Juliet Reynolds, who I've spent some of those nights with her, so she'll know me well in those conditions.
Yeah. Well, I remember well. So that's my Czech part. I can hold my beer very well.
So Bambos, what's going on for you right now? I always see when I get into this vibrant energy, you're like, I'd like to take it down and ask some more questions that are more grounding. Is there something coming up for you as we speak?
No, no. You're maybe projecting a little bit too much on my expression.
No. I didn't see it. I always just like, because you always say when I go into this fun mode, I always like to go back to you because you always deepen us into a more grounded space. So that's what I'm inviting you instead of saying that you need to, or I expect you to. Can you help us find a more loving, grounded space? That's my request of you, Bambos.
I guess when we talked about Monika's father, and I was trying to imagine how it would be for him to watch the show, and even if he is coming across as harsh, somewhere in there, I also want to acknowledge that there is love and an incapacity.
Yeah, I know. Yes, thank you for saying it. And when I'm knowing that he is totally supportive and he wants the best for me, he wants me to be safe and to have enough money to be safe. And for him, safety is money because that's his story. And he's not able to say it in a loving way. That is really the heartbreaking, that the person you on the telephone, you speak and you cannot have a proper conversation apart from just the surface weather and grandchildren and this and this. But no, I never had a deep conversation with my dad. Never.
Wow.
And you're probably never going to, and it's fucking great.
I am writing letters. I have letters here, like letter 1. I started writing letters. I don't know what happened, but I was writing that and things were pouring out of my face, my nose, my eyes, my mouth, and I was just writing and things were just pouring on the paper. So, and the second letter was better, and I just will continue to write these letters. Maybe I will never send them.
Can I just share, Monika? I love you. Like, I just want to enjoy this moment with you. Just, you're like this beautiful spirit. It's just great to be with.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Andy is being the father now. He's giving you the fatherly love that kind of love.
Oh, is that the love you would wish you got from your father?
I do know that my father loves me.
Yeah.
And even if he would say, "Oh, I love you, I'm so proud of you," I would not even know how to take it because it has never happened.
It's like, who are you and what did you do with my dad? I
would not. I don't know how I would react.
Yeah. But this goes a little bit. Sorry, can I just? This goes a little bit back to that unexamined life, though, because when he's on his deathbed and he sees you, he's going to tell you how proud he is of you.
Yeah.
And you're going to think to yourself, yeah, why did it take this moment with this much duress for us to have that discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking Monika should meet Peter Koenig.
Yeah.
Because he's creating a community where you only interact with each other if the business that you have is heart-based and it makes sense to work together. or some is that, am I
Yeah, love and business. He has the same, you've discussed it, love and business. So he's just trying to create another paradigm of trying to understand that we can't continually do business as we've done it till now. And
Yeah.
he's defined it in the sense of where does love guide it? And then, of course, you get more determined minded people that say, hey, what's the return on investment? And, and he's saying if we're going to establish a new way of living, which is already going to be imposed on us because of limited resources and time, right? He's saying, let's do it already. Let's already define a new way of being. And he's certainly created a nice network of people that work based on what he'll call love and business.
Some pretty amazing individuals.
Yeah.
Nice to connect.
Yes. Is that your Bambos?
I'm gonna. It's door neighbor.
I was gonna say, at least if I'm gonna hear it, I want to see that dog.
It's next door. We have a lot of wild cats and dogs.
Oh yeah.
Oh, send one here. I want a doggy.
Yeah. I want a doggy.
Let's co-parent.
I tend to take pictures of dogs all the time when on my walks. So I post probably one new picture a day of a dog that I've met on one of my 4-hour walks each day. And everyone is always asking me, is this your dog? Is this your dog? Is this your dog? As if like, no, I'm just living vicariously through all these other dog owners.
Oh yeah, I will have to send you some hilarious video about dogs. I have to remind myself. Yeah.
So if you think about like this, I'd like to go back just to our theme of you're a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? So when you look at your life right now, where would be the areas you say, if I had a choice to really improve those areas, that's where my focus is at the moment?
If I would go back in time?
No, at this moment in your life, what area, if anything, is the question you're sitting with?
Well, I'm constantly improving and constantly digging in my business, the way I do my coaching, the way I have my, online business, constantly evolving. And what would I like to improve? Yeah, I would like to see it straight away. I would like to see the results straight away with magic stick. It's here. That would be great. I do have a lot of trust in the universe, trust that what I'm doing is correct, trust that it's bringing the fruits. And the results, sometimes they show and they just disappear. Like, like the octopus, like, so like this. She pokes a little leg and she just disappears, like these jellyfishes.
Yeah.
So more of that would be great. More of the presence would be great. I think I'm pretty good.
That's beautiful.
I don't want to change anything.
Yeah.
Happy as I am.
It's the journey, right?
It's the journey, and I'm very proud of the journey I'm walking, and it's not easy, but I'm very proud for taking the guts and courage to do it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I think that's one of those things when I told you I did my own journey like yours, I remember saying to myself, when I die, am I going to be proud of the life I've lived? And I realized at that moment that I wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
So it's clear to me that although I'd succeeded in business and I was doing well and getting paid more than I should have been, like that wasn't bringing me joy. And it was one of those weird decisions, probably the first time I feel like I've ever made a decision in my life where I said, I'm going to say no to what I'm doing and not know what the yes is. So it's really easy to jump from one job to a next, but to say no to one thing and then and have a vast open space where you don't even know where you're going to go, that's some scary shit.
Yeah. And, especially people say, oh, you don't have kids, or I didn't have kids. It's easier for you. But if you have kids, it's no excuse. It is just an excuse. You can still jump and still do it.
Yeah.
And,
but it's a whole construct, right? Because it's a weird thing is that if you say you can do it with kids, But in order for a person to get free of it, they have to say to themselves, all of the ideas I had about how I was going to raise my kids are something I'm going to make peace with. Because normally when you've done that, you say, oh, I'm going to put my kids in this type of school. I'm going to give my kids this type of clothing. So in some ways, if you can't afford that anymore, you have to realize your kids will probably be much happier in a whole nother scenario, but it isn't going to be the vision you had for them. And that's a hard thing to realize.
Yeah, I think differently.
Oh, how?
So for me, the quality. So when I was 41, I gave birth here in the living room to my daughter. Bambos knows her. She's quite amazing little young lady being. And then I took my savings and I invested those savings in me being 3 years at home. Okay. And that was my investment. For me, the time with my daughter is the most precious thing. And it's not because, the child is formed within the first 2 years. And lots of people don't believe that because children don't speak. They think, oh, I treat them like a piece of furniture because they can't answer, but they absorb everything. So I knew that I'm going to spend 3 years there. And I cannot sometimes afford what she wants. And I say it's not a priority. So the priority would be I could go to work 9 to 5 every day and earn lots of money, but I will not see my daughter. What is for her more important, to be with her dad and mom, or have a beautiful sneakers, right? Or go on expensive holidays. So children are much more, their needs are much more simpler, really. They want to be in the presence of parents, and parents go to work because I need to earn money for kids, but kids don't want money. They want the mom and dad to be there. Really, not all the time, of course, but you know what I mean? So it's just like lying to yourself if you.
But just to make sure that's what I tried to say before, but apparently not well enough for it to be communicated in the way you understood. So that
I thought that you were saying that you have an idea how you're going to bring up your child, and because of your changes in your financial situation, for example, you follow your passion, you don't have it, and therefore you cannot provide for your kids the way you want it to.
I guess what I see is like there's a socialized life. You get socialized in a way to think that this is the right life. And I hear it in people's wording. They'll say, I should have been this by 40, or I think that this is where I compare myself with everyone else in my age group, and I haven't gone as far as I think I should have, right? It's a lot of the comparison and judging oneself. And what I've noticed is when someone steps out of that matrix, they have to let go of everything, really everything, like you've just said. You have to be okay with saying, I'm providing for my child just by giving them love and being present for them in a way that serves our relationship, not in a way that my mind had the idea of how it should have been. Because when I was a kid, that's what I saw on TV or what I saw in a Disney movie or wherever the hell I'm being bombarded with messages. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, actually. Yeah.
And what you say also, it's actually the parents. It's like my mom and dad, their idea of me bringing up my child is totally different that I'm doing. And so I'm a double loser.
Yeah, because you're raising your child like a loser as well.
True.
Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that, by the way? And how does that show up? Like they'll mention things about how you're raising.
Oh, yeah, it's another show.
Oh, no.
Okay, so my daughter's a loser.
So why don't you kill me? We got Danny McGuarty. He loves your accent like I love your accent. And he says it sounds like you're from Liechtenstein.
I've been to Liechtenstein. It's the smallest country in Europe.
Yes. But actually just you are half Czech, half Russian, and you spent time in London. That's the accent we're hearing.
And 17 years in Holland.
Wow. I love it. We are over our hour. Any last parting remarks for you, Bam?
I love you, Monika Zampa. Oh, are we pronouncing your name correctly, by the way? Zampa?
Monika Zampa.
Zampa. And
Can we just stop? Can we end with a Beck song from 1993?
Oh wait, I'm going to record it. I love that.
The lyric goes, Bambos, I had to write it down. Soy un predador. I listened to it all day long and I
All
couldn't.
right, here we go, guys. I'm going to. Yeah.
Soy un
Un
predador. You're a
I'm a-
loser, baby.
I'm a loser, baby.
I'm a loser, baby.
I'm
So
a loser,
why don't
baby.
you kill me? That's got to be one of the best anthem songs from any generation, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Maybe I
wondering
should
what-
make a T-shirt. I'm a loser, baby.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm
then on the
proud
back.
of it.
Yeah. I love it. Danny also is in Danny who's listening to us from the US is in a rock band. He's a drummer. So he says I can get in the band with him. So I don't think that'll serve anybody. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Andy can play really good saxophone, by the way, Danny.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Really good.
exactly. Thank you, Mambo, throwing me under the bus. Thank you, Monica.
Welcome.
It was incredible to be with you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
See you later,
You
baby.
too. You too. To you and to you.
Thank you.
It was really nice. It was much fun.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Bambos, do you want to leave now or do you want to close up with some chit chat at the end? How are you feeling?
Let's chit chat.
Okay, we're going to say goodbye to you and then we're going to close up. Love you.
Adios,
Bye.
Monica.
Who's got the control? Who's got the control?
Oh man, I don't think I've laughed so much for a long time. I'm laughing my ass off every day. My mom is
Yeah.
like my therapy also. It's funny when Monica was talking about her daughter. I played a game today with my mother,
Okay.
and I asked her the question, "What do you think the perfect gift would be for me?" Or something like along those lines.
Okay.
And she said, "A house, a car."
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mom, being here with you right now is one of the biggest gifts for me.
Wow.
And she looked at me, she's like, "Oh, I didn't think of that."
I thought she'd say like a muzzle. When you do videos with her, her face is like I see half pain, half agony. You know,
Enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy. When you, it's so fascinating for me when I know how important touch is for you, and I see how incapable she is of receiving touch. It's really an amazing thing to watch. How does it work for you when you really feel that that's like your love language, and you see for her it's almost like a torture to be touched?
I didn't even see it as a problem actually, because it's not about me. Like 10 years ago, it would have been she doesn't love me. I would have blamed her, judged her, can't even fucking hug your son and all that shit. And now it's
Wow.
more like, wow, there's an incapacity to receive love. And I'm dealing with a 5-year-old living in that body that I call mom.
Wow.
So and it's like, hey, this is me. This is my world. You're invited in.
You're invited in. I love it. Yeah. You're
So
invited to join me here. You don't have to come, but I won't blame you, but I'm not going to change who I am so you can feel less uncomfortable.
my
Yeah.
nephew said to me last night, I think whatever's happening, whatever you're doing, it is impacting her.
Yes, of course it is.
And he said it's very beautiful to see.
Yeah.
And it's really about making the personal impersonal.
Yeah. You're celebrating yourself and her in the video, which is really sweet. Yeah. And I think everyone enjoys it. Juliet, who's also watching your video, says she loves the mom videos. I think you could actually have one of those viral YouTube videos. You could do one of those videos where like it's always like someone recording saying, "Mama, I love you," and then Mama,
I thought about it today, but then I thought, you know, they do the pranks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And that's not the space I want to be in. So
No.
in a way, it's just to keep it as it is.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah. Yeah.
And the purpose I'm sharing, and is also, I find it so beautiful
Mm.
that it's stupid not to share. Like
Yeah.
what I've seen after I think the shower video when she showered me in the garden.
Yeah.
I've watched it like 20 times. It
Yeah.
kills me. um, I've heard from people, they're inspired, and how to also find the connection with their parents,
Yeah.
because they always came from being serious, you have to understand me and all that stuff. And it's not. It's really about how can we create connection right now, this moment. I love you for who you are,
Yeah.
and you don't need to change.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the beauty of this journey back for you is you're not going back asking people to be different. You're saying, I'm going to be me and you can join me here. That's just fantastic.
Or I'll
Yeah.
hold you very tightly so you
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
escape.
So you feel like you need to like hit me with something to get me away. And the more you resist, the longer I'm going to hold you.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
beautiful.
that's
Well,
really beautiful.
like, since we're talking about this, the, I see the impact you've had on my life.
Mm,
So I also want to acknowledge this right now, this moment, that you have really helped me transform all my relationships with women, with
yeah,
my loved ones, in my business, how I see the world. And thank you for being that for me.
yeah. It's a
And I
pleasure.
started reading your book again. So
Nice. So people can make fun of you. 15 times. It's going to be on sale this weekend.
16.
16 times. It's going to be on sale on Sunday. If you want to buy the Wounded Healer, it's reduced to 99 cents as an ebook this next week or two.
Guys, don't be cheap. Invest in the audio. Andy reads it. It's like a bedtime story. Do
Yeah.
it. Do it now.
The one thing that I thought was really beautiful in what you said, I think it was like two shows ago, is you said, I'm investing in memories. Or it was something like that. Maybe it wasn't the exact word you used.
I'm creating memories.
Yeah. I'm creating memories. And I really thought, like, when I heard you say that, it really felt like, wow, like that is a beautiful way to see this journey, right? Like in a way, I can identify with that feeling, that sentiment, really, really, really. When I go out on my daily walks and I shoot my pictures, I always call them cinematic moments. I'm looking for one cinematic moment to capture a beauty of a day. And there's a beauty in just, today I don't know if you saw the video I put on, but I'm walking the street and there's this massive slug that's sort
Oh
of
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so I'm like, wow, this is like, like the wonder of a 5-year-old kid. I'm like, I put my phone on the ground and I'm like recording this slug moving and just totally absorbed in the beauty of that moment. And in a way, it's like just celebrating these little moments in a day make it so special. That one yesterday, I made the video where I'm walking by this weird garden of gnomes, hundreds of little gnomes in this garden, and I'm like, I just want to record it as a video and just show like the whimsy, because I walk by this thing in my mind, like I kind of see this childhood magic take me over, and I feel like I'm projected into this other world in a second. And there was a movie that I really loved called Emily, a French movie.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I loved it so much because of exactly that whimsy of the mind, like, can float and enjoy and have pleasure, not all that dissimilar from what Monica mentioned. You can go back into the same job and have a completely different mindset, and all of a sudden you're like, free coffee all day long? Are you kidding me? Like, the celebration of life is it's really often just a mindset
Yeah.
thing as well. So I wanted to celebrate that as well.
And Monica is really playful. I got to know her better when she came for a photo shoot when she was starting her business, and she completely blew me away because she had different outfits. It was outdoor, and she was just having a full body yes for everything that we were
Yeah, you
doing.
can see.
Pictures came out amazing. Like, we had so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, I still feel the ripple effect of our time together, and so it was really good to have her here.
Yeah.
Bulelang, being a child again, Andy, and enjoy the small things in life.
Yeah, I think I enjoy putting my videos on because I think Bolalang appreciates them more than anybody else, like Bolalang really, he often comments and shares, and I think he's got my humor till now.
And I think he's been doing the same thing in South Africa.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we have one show left before we take a hiatus, Bambos. One show left.
Tomorrow with Joan Lovazio.
Yes, I got scammed online. That's the show tomorrow. We're going to discuss how she found a man online. She built a relationship, built some trust, and then all of a sudden that man used the trust to say, I need you to wire me some money because I'm in a financial issue. And she did that only to find out that she'd been scammed. So we're going to discuss a bit that. And I think it's really like it's again speaking to our guest, where these aren't the topics people really want to bring on the show, but they say, hey, let's talk about it. This happens and it's not comfortable. So she's really being vulnerable by allowing us to share this journey with her. So I'm really grateful to her for that. Yeah.
And where we're going to do that, Andy Shalef?
Mr. Bambos Demetriou, you and I will be doing that on A Wonderful Chaos.
Wonderful Chaos.
A Wonderful Chaos. A Wonderful Chaos. You're a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me?